Okay.
And I got into got into real deep study of the Bible and all that. Yes. And the more I learned, the more questions I had. Sure.
Yeah, I hear you.
So I challenge everybody to show me some proof. Show me some proof that this God of the Bible. Show me where He exists right now. The whole thing ended up to be a bunch of bullshit, a bunch of fucking stories and allegories, all kinds of made up shit in an attempt to control people on some level. And it's fine. This is my opinion, but I think it was written and put together the way it was, more so to control black people than anything else. Because I look at slavery.
Okay.
The Bible mentions slavery.
Okay.
On several different occasions, and I ask myself questions like, what type of God would subject a person to be put through such fucking demeaning, who would put somebody through that? And telling a slave to obey his master and all that type of shit. What kind of God would do that? Where was God at when we were put through 400 plus years of slavery? What was he at then? And then you got all these niggas jumping up and down hollering, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. No, fuck that. Fuck that. Had he been real? Matter of fact, I got to a point where I don't even think Jesus was real. Never existed. Never existed. Was never here. That's just what I'm at with.
Okay.
So,
okay.
You come on, Doctor. What you got?
Well, I'm kind of on the scientific end of that conversation where I'm looking at the arguments for and against the existence of a deity. And I agree with you. The evidence is not there to support a deity existing. One of the arguments, one of the style of philosophical arguments that we're talking about is an ontological argument. It is an argument designed for the belief in God. And one of those arguments portrays the deity as being the first mover. And the way these arguments go is like, if you ask a person, do things move? And of course, you look around, you say, yes, things do move. And then once a person says things move, they already have agreed that that there's a deity. And so that's an ontological. Okay, yes. You might just check it out. You might, after we finish with this, you check it out. It's called the first mover. It's called an ontological argument. And there's several of them that try to put a deity in different places and convincing arguments. Not any more convincing as they used to be. Now that we can, we know now that people weren't possessed by the devil, that they had mental illness. We know that the earth is a molten rock that's still cooling, and it's going to have earthquakes and geology and weather, and it's not controlled by a person. It's controlled by.
Wait a minute. I'm trying to catch up with what you're saying right there about this creature or this being or this devil. Where the fuck he come from? That's the more that's made up bullshit.
What you're missing? You're missing me, Kenny. You're missing me.
You said the word devil.
No, I didn't.
Some people are possessed. You said some people were possessed by
Yes.
devils.
Well, some people were told they were possessed by devils.
Oh, okay.
That's what you missed.
Okay.
Some people were told by religious leaders that they were possessed and should be burned alive. And we hear a lot about the people that were burned, but nothing about the people that did the burning. In our community, the faith-based communities cannot escape its atrocities. And those are some of its atrocities, man, against humanity. I mean, I could sit here and go down the history with you about, some of the most heinous crimes ever committed in the world in the name of God. You can get a good man to justify anything if you put reverend or pastor in front of his name. I mean, they can get away with murder.
I agree.
So
I agree.
I think, I went down a journey to try to find some way of trying to understand spirituality myself. What's the meaning of things? And I ended up way into science, way into way into the hydrogen atom, way into the sun, way out there, buddy.
Yeah.
I believe in that. I believe in that more than I believe in anything.
Well, I know that those things are there. They're tangible.
Right.
If I had a damn rocket, I could get it there. I can actually go touch these things.
Right.
But the whole thing about God, you can't. Nobody can show me him.
Right.
Nobody can tell me what his voice sounds like. I hear people say, "But God said that you gotta." No, God ain't said a fucking thing. You take that bullshit somewhere and cram that right back up your punk ass. You ain't heard him say shit.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I'll tell you something, bro. My brother's a pastor of the church. And he got a whole bunch of folks in the church.
Right.
Get money up every Sunday, and the nigga won't damn, how much he paid once a month. He won't get it no matter. No, hell no. But, it's paid every Sunday. I'm going to tell them fucking lies.
Okay.
I don't know, say that to him. I don't know, tell him that. And he has no idea that I'm just not a believer anymore. I've been separated from that bullshit. But him and my mom, they faithful.
Right.
I mean, that's their whole thing. I mean, that's any Christian. That's what they don't feel their whole shit on. It's faith. I can't do it, bro. You can't just come to me and tell me that so-and-so said something and, this is supposed to be God, this and that, and you can't prove your shit. No, you can't just tell me that. Fuck you. I don't want to hear it. And then my brother, y'all ask me, well, why you don't tune in on Facebook on Sunday morning and listen to me preach? And I'm kind of offended by that. You ain't doing nothing else on Sunday morning. Maybe shit, think y'all rather be in the bathroom and y'all sitting on the toilet beating my fucking dick and hear that shit. That's just how I feel, bro. My mom, she is just faithful to the church things, try to live that life and all that. And neither one of them have no idea that I feel that. When they mention God and these things on scripture and that, I just can't go with that. Yeah, okay. But they have no idea, man. It's like I don't even want to. They will disown my ass if I told them. Yeah.
Right.
Man, shit. Oh man, that wouldn't have nothing to do with my black ass.
Right.
I'm already the black sheep of the family. Shit. And right there was just put the nail in the coffin like that. Get it up.
Right.
Yeah.
So what do you think about evolution?
I don't believe in evolution because I'll tell you what. Now the only way black can have any type of disagreement with evolution will be because of what I've read in scripture. Now, if I believe anything about the God in the Bible to be the creator and the one who made everything, then I would have to believe that he created everything one time only. And it's like he created everything in a mature form to be able to reproduce. And you can only reproduce after your own kind. Now, what evolution? Only type of evolution that I believe in is like a tadpole. A tadpole evolved into a fucking frog, okay? And it evolved to better itself. And it gets to a certain state, it stops evolving. It stops. Anything that evolves to better itself, I believe. And so if man was evolved in this thing, how come we stopped at this stage? How come we didn't evolve to have fucking wings where we can fly around and stuff? Or you know what I'm saying?
I hear what you're trying to say. So
yeah,
here's.
Okay, I'm glad you heard what I'm not saying.
I hear what you're trying to say.
How me to put it in words.
Well, here's a question for you.
Somebody never asked me these goddamn questions.
Well, it's the first time for everything.
Well, go ahead, though.
Okay. So on one hand, you're saying that if you took your beliefs from books and scripture, that you can't believe in evolution.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, before you said that you can believe in none of that.
Wait a minute. Before I said I didn't.
Yeah. You saying you don't believe in your brother, you don't believe in your mom's example of religion and faith. Now you're saying because you do believe in something, you can't believe in evolution. Like I'm confused as to what you're.
No. You misunderstood me.
Okay. Help me out.
I said the only reason that I would even have any type of belief
Okay.
or disbelief.
Okay.
Disbelief in
Okay.
evolution was because of what I understand the Bible says. That's the whole reason. And
Gotcha.
It simply makes sense to not believe in evolution.
Well, evolution is a fact.
Yes, it is.
It's
like
a fact.
It's like I take tadpole, for example.
Kenny, the tadpole is not evolving, sir. The tadpole is growing up. Evolution happens over millions and millions of years.
No.
Yes.
I have to disagree with you on that.
Okay.
You can't tell me that a tadpole don't evolve?
Not in the way that we're using the word evolve. It's been misused a lot. When you say the word evolution, you're talking about millions of years.
Okay, evolution and evolve.
Well, evolve is just short for evolution, but to say that something evolves within a few weeks or a few months of their lifetime is not a good way to use the word evolve or evolution. When I'm using the word evolution, I'm talking about tracing your family tree to be cousins with things like wolves, trees, mushrooms. Your DNA, the very molecules that make up who you are, have a kindred spirit with a whole lot of other things that are alive today. And because of that, because of the numbers, of how much of our DNA is identical and represented in other life forms, it says that we all have a common ancestry, that we all come from a common DNA. That's evolution. Excuse me?
So what do you think that common DNA is?
Oh.
What do you think it is?
The common DNA that we all share. I know the molecules of DNA. Are you saying what is the original molecule of DNA that we all share?
Yeah, okay. I guess what I'm trying to ask you is, where you come come from? I mean, what did you evolve from? Do you think you evolved from something?
Okay, I think that. Okay, so to answer that, we definitely are cousins, and I think we definitely split off from primates a long, long time ago. And what we consider to be human being or Homo erectus came from millions of years, hundreds and thousands of years. From, I guess you would have to go back and look at the Lucy records. Lucy, I think, was 3.5 million years old. And she is what they call, um, I guess, the scientific Eve. She would be the oldest female fossil that we can trace what we are today to. She was about 3.5 meters tall, which is about, well, let me see. She was, I guess they're saying she was 3.5 to 4 feet tall. Now, the thing about Lucy is this: Lucy has what we call mitochondria, and women.
I know what that is.
Okay, okay. Now, if you understand mitochondria, you understand that only women can give it to you.
Yeah.
You can't get it from anywhere else. And because of mitochondria, we can prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that your mom is your mom, but not your dad, your dad. So there's discrepancy in your father. It's never 100%, right? Now, that mitochondriatic DNA had to be passed on from a woman. A man cannot pass it on. So it makes you wonder what was the first, what is the default? And by the mitochondria record, you can't get mitochondria from a man. So what does that imply? What does that imply? Okay.
I'm understanding you right. Are you telling me that we evolved from some type of primate?
Yes.
And why did we evolve into what we evolved into in the primate stage primate?
Okay, that's a great question. Because during the evolution of man, if you ever go back and look at the fossil record, there's a correlation between our prefrontal cortex in the fossil records, and the prefrontal cortex is correlated with intelligent problem solving, imagination, and as we began to imagine and build and construct and see the what is and the what's not. And what that means is a philosophy of what they call repositioning the tool. Is at some point we imagine us being able to see a butter knife for more than just spreading butter, but it also could double as a screwdriver. And once we started doing that, we became dexterous in our hands. And somewhere along the line, they report that the detachment of our thumb correlates with the size of our prefrontal cortex. Don't quote me on that. Look it up. So, therefore, the environment of the plains of Africa are what shaped us to be what we are right now. We are the descendants of humans that lived on the plains of Africa. Some say 200,000 years ago, some say 250, some say 100,000. It don't matter. But we can trace our DNA to the plains of Africa. And you can see how if we all came from Africa and we all have different skin colors, different features, those features are what? Reflective of the environment that's best suited for those features to thrive in. That's all evolution means, is can you exist long enough to reproduce?
All right, okay. All right. I've read that along the lines of how you evolve according to the environment.
Right.
I'm with that.
So when you ask the question, where do we come from? The answer to that supersedes any writing, any book, when you look out into the universe, the solar system, and you start seeing these heavenly bodies, for lack of better words, the moon, stars, and you start understanding that what you are looking at and looking for, you are looking with. That is not something out there you are looking at in amazement. You are looking with the very thing it is. Does that make sense to you?
No.
What you're looking for, you're looking with. So let me tell you, when you said, where do I come from? The sun that warms our earth, the sun that feeds our plants and drives photosynthesis, is probably the grandson of another sun. The reason I say that is I think the evidence points to the heavy elements only being created in the explosion of a supernova, and our sun being probably triggered into formation by some close supernova um, cloud of all types of metals and all types of chemicals that can only be made in that process. Now we have our sun. Our sun explodes into existence. It kicks off millions and trillions of miles of dust and vapor gas, and we get our planets. Now, the thing about when you ask me who I am is you got to understand that if you look at the table of elements, the periodic table, the first 6 elements of the periodic table, which are what? Hydrogen, the smallest, lightest atom, helium, lithium. I can't name them verbatim, but there's a one correlation to those elements that you're looking out in space seeing. Like everything you see, astrophysicists can tell you what it's made up of. And if you and what you're looking at is abundance of hydrogen, helium, nitrogen, all the elements that make you up in almost the same proportions as they are represented throughout the universe. Don't quote me on that. So, what am I? I am star stuff. I am what hydrogen does when Mother Nature gets a hold of it. When the laws of physics get a hold of hydrogen atoms, it transforms it and eventually gets a human. Because humans represent the highest stratosphere of what chemistry can do under the right circumstances. So, to answer your question, to get to where we are today, you don't need God. All you need is 4 basic things: strong nuclear, weak nuclear, gravity, and electromagnetism. In the face of those physical forces, hydrogen atoms transform into heavier and heavier atoms. And we cannot exist without those heavy atoms being cooked in the center of a star. There's no other place in the universe that can cook the elements that run through our body and make us up other than the center of a star. So we are star stuff. That's what I am.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, you got to start.
Well, I tell you what, it's kind of sort of fascinating to hear that particular theory. I haven't heard that, so that's different for me.
Yeah,
But,
I just made it up.
I understand what you're saying.
I just made it up.
So you lean more towards Big Bang Theory?
Yeah, it's a fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, come on, Kenny, you got to do some more reading, buddy.
I'm gonna goddamn show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let me help you out. Let me point you in the right direction. Look up cosmic microwave background. Okay. And just start right there. If you just look that up, it's going to point to you the other 3 or 4 facts about the Big Bang having happened. So here's 2 of them really quick. If you have any understanding about cosmology, about looking out in space, one of the things you'll come across is that things are moving away from us really fast. So one of the facts about a Big Bang is that if there was some type of coming into existence in hot plasma and things began to move, you would see them moving away from us. And that's what we see. We see things moving away from us. The second thing is, well, if the universe was once a boiling hot plasma state, Where's the leftover dust? Where's the ashes from it? And guess what they found? The cosmic microwave background. And so when you talk about the Big Bang, it's more than just it, I don't believe in it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't care if you believe in it or not. It cares that you read. It cares that you read the research and act accordingly. You gotta come to that conclusion and go down that line. But the question you asked me was, well, how did I get here? How do I believe I got here? So now that we've go ahead. Right. So now we solved that problem, right? Now we can get into spirituality. It's a choice. What aligns with you? What aligns with what you think about life, the world, what things mean? How do you see things? Everybody's life is dealt a different viewpoint. It's not hard to see that if you was born in the Middle East, you'd probably be Muslim. It's not a stretch to see that. Right? Depending on where you were born and who you were born to may determine a whole lot about you that you didn't get a chance to choose. Yeah. I'm pretty sure a lot of people did. And those parents, you have parents that will say, don't let my kid watch a horror movie, but they'll let them watch The Passion of Christ. And I'm going, have you ever seen The Passion of Christ? They beat the shit out that man. You know what I mean? Like, you want your kid to watch that versus Jason, which is fictional, and this is being portrayed as really having had happen? That's wicked. That's wicked. And a man supposedly having all these powers allow people to do that to him. Well, I mean, I guess that's intertwined in the supernaturalness of the story. But more than that, the philosophy of the story is you can now deviate your responsibility for your behavior onto another person and be absolved. And let me tell you something, as a recovering person, somebody been through hell and back, nobody can take away this guilt and nobody can take away this pain. You got to sit with it, get comfortable with it, forgive yourself, and try to move on every day. I cannot shed it onto another person. Right. That's just not going to happen. And the belief, me having been taught that belief in that system of forgiveness, atonement, healing, whatever way I was taught it, just doesn't cut it anymore when I understand personal responsibility and accountability. I got to wear those scars and I got to learn to live with them and get through them and forgive myself. That's more important to me than any other thing we're talking about. Okay. And that would seem to be the most important thing to me. Yes. Yes. I don't know. It's not, any days that I can get through without picking up anything like that. I don't know. I just feel grateful and emotional. And I don't know. I don't dwell on a lot of shit like that. Since I stepped away from recovery and all of that, I don't even fuck with that day. I hear you. I hear you. I've taken several people to fucking rehab. Mm-hmm. And man, you bring back the memories. Right. Like, that's what I thought about this. And I don't fuck with that. And religion, still a lot of time. So let me give you a little synopsis on religion, right? So let's start with the word religion. Religion is a word that is derived from Latin, meaning in the Latin form it's pronounced religio, and religio means to connect. And you say, well, what is religion trying to connect? Religion is trying to connect man's awareness that his existence is finite and that belief in the great other is infinite. And the way to bridge my finite existence with an infinite existence, they call religion. And every religion says mimic this behavior, mimic these rituals, and you will get to heaven. Every religion says that. Okay? So everybody's trying to recreate another person's spiritual awakening. I see clear through the charades here, buddy. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. So here's another way of thinking about it. You know, so you mean to tell me up until about 2,500 years ago or 2,000 years ago, until Moses came down with the 10 Commandments, it was okay to rape and pillage and torture and steal and kill up until Moses set the people straight. Up until that point, God just was like just watching. He was just watching, like he was just chilling. You know, he's like, I'll talk to him in a minute. You know, I got this guy Moses coming up in a couple of thousand years. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. Like, I'm with you. You know, you could do a better job of being honest about the stories. It's a recreation of the Egyptian god Horus and his wife Iris, okay, and their son Horus. I mean, you can get really into that, you know, really deep into that. And I try to spare people the history lessons and the similarities of different faiths to somewhat ancient or older faiths. People don't want to hear it, man, because well, they thinking somehow it discredits them if I don't believe what they believe. And I'm saying to people, I'm free to believe whatever the hell I want to believe the way I want to believe it. And if somebody cares to talk about it, we can talk about it. But I'm free to do this. And I don't want to hear. And the Constitution protects me from hearing what you believe. Who cares? Stay at home. Teach it to your kids. You know what I mean? Don't bring it to the public. Once you bring it in public, it's open for debate. If you don't want to debate it, if you don't want to, if you can't stand the scrutiny, okay? If you can't take the scrutiny of it, then shut up. Keep it at home. You know? So, you know, we're constantly battling different groups trying to force their agenda into the public eye. We really don't care. If you offer one more parent, one more grieving child, your thoughts and prayers instead of acting in good conscience to change the laws and do anything you possibly can to keep another child from dying, I think your religion and you are both full of crap. Okay? Because yeah, give me your thoughts and prayers. Just do it one more time. I swear they need to stop that bull, man. Like your thoughts and prayers aren't doing anything. Have you ever been to a funeral of a child? You ain't never been to the funeral of a child if you want to offer a parent some thoughts and prayers. What you need to do is shut the fuck up and vote. Keep your thoughts and prayers. They ain't helped nobody. I don't think thoughts and prayers helped anybody in a long, long time. Do something. Listen. Somewhere in these books and in this religiosity, I heard in some way that faith without works is useless. Something like that. So in other words, get up off your knees. Yes, right. That's what it is. But get off. Stop praying. I wish people would stop praying and start acting. Like if you could close your mouth and show your faith by how you lived your life, we'd see what you believed. You know what I mean? But because you have to use so many words and so much similes and metaphors and all this amplification of this belief system tells me I should know this stuff by how you're living, the way you're talking. What is it? Some other scripture somewhere in that Bible says something like you will know the tree while you get it there. And that's the version. I'm with there. Yeah, there's. Yes. That's what I just said. Yes. Right. Well, you living like a damn. Hey, I don't know about that, but I can say I think one of the things about prayer or faith, man, is it's example, and I can't get away from using, you know, examples from the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, any one of those books. Not only was I brought up in different faiths, but I went to school and specifically took and sought information out. Okay, and got a lot of learned information about these topics, man. And so it's hard for me to get away from them and use them to my advantage to prove my points. But let me tell you what I think about prayer. I think that without acting, without doing something, it's like telling God you haven't done enough. Prayer is one way you can tell a deity, a God, you haven't done enough. When Moses got to the Red Sea, I think he cried out, and somebody in his group cried out, are there no graves in Egypt that you brought us out here to let us die? And Moses cried out to God in this particular story. And what do you think God said to Moses? He basically says, shut up. What is that in your hand? I've already given you the tools you need. And that's what I think people forget about prayer is we already have the tools we need. God didn't create a gun. He didn't create terrorism. You know what I'm saying? And we're praying for him to remove stuff that he had no orchestration in it whatsoever. But we want his help.
Well, I just think prayer is something that is between you and whatever God you believe in or whatever type of how you believe in whatever. That's or her or whatever it is. Prayers don't do anything to change situations or
okay. I can go with that.
Yeah, it just don't do anything to change anything. You know?
Well, it helps people feel good.
Yeah.
It gives them a superficial way of participating.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in the real world, that don't cut it, man. When your community is suffering, your friends and family are suffering. You got to go be with people. You know what I mean? You got to go open yourself up to physically be with people. Quit being lazy. Quit being a lot of lip service and go be with people, man.
Yeah.
You got to go be with them, man. Like there's no other way, man. Sending cards and all that stuff is great. But till you go be with somebody when they going through it, you might not have the full birth of the experience. Let me say it like that. Hey, Kenny, man. Hey, man, this has been a great conversation. I'm glad you calmed down. I'm glad you calmed down a little bit of me. Hey, I want to leave you with something, okay? And you've heard this before, but it's been a really long time since you heard it. But I'm going to give it to you one more time, okay? And then we're going to end this. A shattered life I hadn't lost. It was a picture-perfect scene of pain. And to deal with the madness that destroys the soul, telling me to live that life once again. To violate the freedom and to forfeit the joy. To surrender the peace that I know and live in that hell that's below. To trade in peace for pain, success for failure, and become a slave again instead of remaining free? How dare such thoughts invade my mind and threaten this gift that was free? I don't care what it promises. I don't care what it says. It sounds like insanity to me. You can take that with you, bro. Hey, Kenny, I would have never thought that I would connect with somebody that I was actually in rehab with over 30 years ago. I wouldn't know. I haven't seen anybody familiar. You're the only person I've seen repeatedly over the last 30 years, whether we was passing each other in different places where people do, when they make mistakes, they send you to that place, So I remember seeing you. We've crossed paths. we've crossed paths through there a couple of times. But other than that, I haven't connected with anybody that I was actually in rehab with, because everybody that we know from that area came after we was in rehab. Like when we came out is when we just met everybody. Like everybody was doing their thing. So.
Man, that's hard to believe. I kind of figured, you have been something,
No, you're the only one, man. Yep, you're the only one. I mean, of course, me and G-Man, right after that is when I met G-Man. Like probably November, December.
Okay.
Yeah, because we was at that. You remember when the new meet used to be upstairs in that room?
Yeah.
Okay, then it moved they kept moving us around the church, and then we ended up in the room out front. Yeah, so that was 91, 92.
Yeah, 92. Yep. About around there, 92, 93.
And where was the? And wasn't there a Sunday group? Where did We Do Recovery used to go on Sundays? Yeah, I think it was in the basement. I think that's what I'm thinking. It was in the basement. Yeah. Hey, Kenny, man. Hey, it's been wonderful, man. Thank you. Be in touch. Hey. Hey, I appreciate you. Love you, man. Be good.
All right. Love you too, Kirk. Talk to you later, buddy.
All right.
Bye.
So that was a little conversation with a long lost friend of mine. So, well, do what I usually do and just scroll through. If he sees this, goes on. Okay. I don't know what China's trying to say. Oh, act like you forgot. I don't know what you're doing, baby. China's doing something. Sorry, my lighting's not good right now. Okay. I just posted a nice video on my page, my YouTube page. Who is this? O'Shea? I don't know where he at. Looks like Florida somewhere. All right, so I'm all caught up on my Facebook page. Everybody's happy and everybody's doing good things out there. I don't even understand what this is. I hate Little Pumps music, but he's.
So I had to bring him up.
Okay. All right. Hey, that's my girl Chi Chi. Yeah, it's my friends. This is what they do on Facebook, man. Everybody's trying to do it, man. All right. So I think we're all caught up. You know, if you got questions, comments, it's WELNINC2022@gmail.com. If this has triggered you or you got any questions, comments, concerns, shoot me an email. I'll read it. I'll respond. And maybe we can have a conversation. WELNINC2022@gmail.com. Kinks. Good night.